Have you ever watched an anime and listened to the ending and thought, man, that was a banger, and add it to your playlist? You go about your day enjoying the music, play video games, driving, in the shower. Then one day you're bored and decided to watch the ending with the visuals. And when you watch the visuals, you notice something that stands out to you. That thing could be a reference to the ongoing arc happening in the show, or something that shows the themes of the arc or character. That ending for me was Fukashi no Karate, or more popularly known as Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunnigo Senpai ending. So I'm going to analyze the first 5 EDs of the show that have visuals. So not the one where everyone's singing, because there are no visuals and no Shoko version. Even though technically there is a Shoko version, the visuals were fan made. But I still highly recommend watching that one because the visuals are just as good as the main series. So basically just the EDs you would see at the end of episodes. And so, without further ado, let's start with. Now, for most of the EDs, the girls are just walking, except when it cuts to 3 different shots of the character, which I call the 3 action shots. One that stood out to me was the one with the bunny pin. I think that is to conceptualize the fact that when we first see Mai in the series, she was wearing a bunny girl outfit, and the first action shot we see is the bunny pin. But the scene that I mainly want to talk about is the very end, which is going to be a gist for every ending, but especially for Mai, because unlike most of the endings, Mai turns around and faces Sakuta, and before she turns around, you can see that she looks shocked or surprised, evidencing the moment she first met Sakuta, being surprised at the fact he could see her. How I'm interpreting this is that for all of the endings in which the character is walking, that is supposed to represent a growth in them and trying to grow out of their puberty syndrome. Then they all meet someone who helps them get over their puberty syndrome. But here with Mai, she's the one being walked up to, and even though I can't confirm this because there are no footprints in the sand, but Mai was just walking, so there must have been footprints, so that's an error. But even though Sakuta doesn't have puberty syndrome, he is still growing up like everyone in these endings. Him meeting Mai is just one of his first steps into becoming an adult and trying to leave puberty syndrome behind. Because with Mai's puberty syndrome making people forget her and not perceive her, she's essentially paused in life. So she's taking that as a chance to observe her surroundings in life. And then, by being paused in life, she finds the person that will help her overcome her puberty syndrome and by proxy, help him grow out of puberty. For Koga, I tried to find more than just one thing to talk about, and I did, but it's a real stretch, so please hear me out. During the last of her 3 action shots, with her dipping her foot into the ocean, how I am going to interpret that is that this is Koga taking a step into becoming an adult, both figuratively and literally, with the water being like a barrier separating the 2 stages she is in, with her being a kid and her trying to step into the realm of being an adult. Tying my last point into this one, at the end, we see Koga meet Sakuta, who, like Mai, helps her with her puberty syndrome, and wait, why are there only 3 footsteps? Did Sakuta just fall on the beach like an arc? And why at the end footsteps just go away? It's not like the waves can reach the location. This show lacks logic. Oh yeah. Back to what I was saying. Koga then stumbles on her feet while trying to meet up with Sakuta. And what I think is symbolizing the fact that, much like with her foot dipping in the water, is that she is stumbling into adulthood, with Sakuta being there as a guide to help her stabilize that transition, as after what happened with Kaede, he is used to living as an adult. Alright, time for my gold, Futaba. I love Futaba, and her ending visuals are just as good. One that's very subtle and clever in the 3 action shots where Futaba first takes off her lab coat, then ties her hair up, and finally adjusts her glasses. This, to me, is very clearly in reference to her puberty syndrome, where she is separated into 2 halves. The half without the lab coat is the half that wants Kunimi to look at her and to reveal her feelings to him. The one with the lab coat on is the half that's more restrictive with her feelings and doesn't want to reveal them to Kunimi. So the 3 action shots demonstrate the transformation Futaba goes through during that arc. First being restrained, being symbolized by the lab coat and long hair, to then being more open with herself, with her tying her hair up and taking off the lab coat, but still keeping the glasses on as a way to show that Futaba is whole again, but this time is more open with herself. As the side that was more revealing didn't have glasses, while the half that was more conserved did have glasses on, showing that at the end of the whole arc, she's back together as one. At the end of the ending, Futaba walks up and meets both Sakata and Kunimi on the beach. What's interesting here is instead of meeting them in front of her, she meets them to the left of her. Because for Futaba, this isn't an issue with her future, like is the issue with a majority of the goals, but this is an issue in the present. Futaba was already down, knowing she couldn't be with Kunimi because he already has a girlfriend. And that only gets worse when Sakata confesses to Mai in front of everyone. So she is worried that she would lose the only 2 friends she has, being Kunimi and Sakata. But then to end that thought process, they hanged out with other Futaba on the beach all night, showing to Futaba that nothing has changed much between them and that they are all still close friends. Even when Futaba went to the old classroom where they all once were in school, Sakata bikes through the pouring rain to stop her from vanishing. Passing out and waking up in the hospital Futaba brought him to, this shows to Futaba that Sakata was willing to go through hardships just to make sure she was okay, debunking Futaba's thinking that Sakata and Kunimi will stop caring about her, and that they will still all be friends for a long time. Time for Norika. The first thing that stood out to me was during the 3 action shots, and in particular, the first and third. The second one, where she puts her foot in the water, is similar to Koga, but in the context of the arcs, I don't think that scene means the same symbolism. The first and third shots are of the front of her body and of her hair flowing. Those are similar to Mai's first and second action shots. I think this is to show the connection between Norika and Mai, not just because they're siblings, but in the context of Norika's arc, her and Mai swap skin appearances. I get very uncomfortable during that scene. Norika wants to be like Mai, so the fact that Norika has 2 of the same shots as Mai is symbolic of her wanting to be like Mai. The end of Norika's ED shows us something significant, not just for Norika, but in every ED, in where we see Norika walking up to Mai. Now, to go on 2 small side tangents, 1, walking footprints, then Mai also just went on the beach, and 2, with every ED so far, Sakata has been in them, but this is the sole exception, and that is for a good reason. The people at the end are the people that the main character in the ED's puberty syndrome is ended by. Sakata ending Mai's by confessing, and Sakata by getting Koga to confront the fact that she needs to stop worrying about other people's thoughts, and in comforting the fact that her and Sakata cannot be together. Kunimi and Sakata being the people who effectively started and ended Futaba's. Kunimi by being Futaba's first crush, and Sakata after the first 2 arcs causing the split, and both comforting the other Futaba, and Sakata proclaiming to the first Futaba that both sides matter and to not just disappear. The reason Sakata isn't here is the fact that he doesn't start or end Norika's puberty syndrome. It was Mai. The cause is her existence and being used as a comparison against Norika, for her to be better than Mai, and ending it by realizing that Mai never hated Norika and accepting her as a sister, by the weird and awkward spot placed by their parents. Kaede version, if you know, then you know what I'm going to talk about, and hell, it's one of the main reasons why I'm making this video. The first being the Santa Claus EDs. Those are going to be a separate video, because once you see this detail, you can't really unsee it. So shout out to this guy in a version of this ED, because it's how I saw this detail. Now the first thing I would like to point out is that Kaede here is wearing her school uniform, and during the 3 action shots, the second one shows her clenching her bag, showing that she still is afraid of going to school. That is a core characteristic of hers, and this leads me to my main point. You know how throughout the video I was pointing out the inconsistencies with footprints in the sand? Well now, if you focus your eyes on this frame, you see 3 footprints. Now you could say, well, those are just Socrates, he's on the beach. 2 things with that. 1. When have these EDs cared about footprint consistency? And 2, I think this symbolizes the fact that there are 3 people in this ED, Sakata, Kaede, and other Kaede. Because as you know, in the series, the bullying done to Kaede caused her to lose her memories, and that leads to the Kaede we see throughout the main series up until episodes 12 and 13. And I can show you that there was 3 people in this ED. At the beginning of the ED, Kaede is walking, something you would see as normal since, well, every girl so far has walked in the EDs. Now take a look at this scene. Did you catch it? This is where Kaede becomes other Kaede. And let me be clear, Kaede for me is the one with the panda pajamas, and the other Kaede is the normal Kaede. Just bear with me because that's how I understand it. Now, as you can see, she opens her eyes. Now, why is that important? She doesn't blink before that scene. This is showing the instantaneous switch between the two, just like in the show. At the end, when Kaede walks with Sakata, it's not the over-the-top greeting or normal like Kaede. It's a simple smile and walks away, with other Kaede walking over Kaede's footprints and leaving that Kaede behind. And again, thank you so much for watching this video to the end. If we can get this video to a total of 4 likes, I will make the Santa Claus EDs a lot faster than it took me to make this one. And so, have a good day or good night, and see you later.